Yeah, and then power. And then rest, hit the right hand. Leave up there. Leave it anywhere. Wherever you decide on there. So your microphone. Are they automatically on or do I have to turn them on? That's not on. Do you have to push it?
Push the red button again. Think about that. You're on now. Testing, testing.
Comes, we got 2 minutes.
Is that running official meeting?
I was telling them there's a new restaurant up here. It's a really good restaurant up here next week. It's gonna be nice sit down restaurant. What's it called? Casa Rosa. I saw it. Did you? Yeah. It's gonna be, we had dinner there last night. It was really good. They had a soft opening. Very good. Highly recommend. It was all very expensive for those. Yeah. But. Where is it? On 306, right across from City Hall down, you know where the creamery is? Right. And they put a lot of effort. It's husband. As long as you follow for example.
Doing stock outline.
Works for me. Not, it doesn't do that. Which one? I think you get it.
That sounds exciting.
If we're gonna have 5 minutes of fame, we gotta go all in. Not so good. He's a troublesome. It's a very divided city. He has a lot of enemies. John Christopher, I don't know, he owns a lot of it.
Oh, he owns a creamery.
He owns a creamery.
That is part of it.
Allegedly, he's building a course.
Who's this?
In Kirtland, you know where the creamery is?
Ocean, yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's good.
It is. He owns the building next to it. It's a rental. Everybody's lease is expiring. Gonna put a putt-putt course in. I know. Have you seen the one at Fairport Harbor? It's adorable.
They're having a tournament coming up.
That would go. That's a,
2-man scramble.
I love it.
Yeah.
You guys know what I do. We crash. Which credit? Hunter does too. It's like, I get to, Reese's, they're. They're fired. Well, not for the life department. So I just.
Call this meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Ms. Moore. Here. Ms. Thompson. Here. Mr. Gray.
Here.
Mr. Bittner.
Here.
Ms. Wong. Here. Mr. Lunder.
Here.
Mr. Johnson.
Here. Approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of council, April 8th, 2025. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes?
Motion to accept.
Second.
Motion made by Mrs. Thompson, seconded by Mr. Bittner to approve the minutes. Roll call, please.
Ms. Moore. Abstain. Ms. Thompson. Aye. Mr. Gray.
Aye.
Mr. Bittner.
Aye.
Ms. Wong. Aye. Mr. Lunder.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye. Correspondence. Does anyone have any correspondence this evening?
Yes. I received 2 emails during the week. I believe at least one of these was addressed to multiple members of council from Jason Morris at 5845 Lake Road. This was pertaining to the concrete, specifically to concrete replacement of concrete driveways in the proposed driveway materials ordinance that remains on the table. It's a rather lengthy email, so I will summarize, although I can submit the entire email for inclusion into the minutes. He says that I do like encouraging people to maintain or improve their driveway and prevent them from downgrading it. It does look good to see streets with nice driveways and to see a home switch from gravel to asphalt or concrete. But I have to disagree with an ordinance that has a hard rule dictating what approved driveway material someone has to use if they are replacing an existing driveway. If a homeowner wanted an ordinance like that, they could move into an HOA community. He then cited 3 examples upon which he bases this opinion, 2 of which have to do with the cost of replacing a concrete driveway with concrete that could risk forcing a homeowner into foreclosure at risk of losing their home or not being able to sell their home, which would lead to a potentially vacant home. And the 3rd example is about it is about, well, it's important to improve the quality of homes, and rather, it would need to provide a provision that approves exceptions where the homeowner can provide a proof of hardship, or that the city can help the owner find assistance to comply. That was the first communication. Second communication is also a mixed subject communication that was from Nicole Jarrett at 5587 Ivy Drive. Again, a lengthy email, which I will summarize the main points and then can submit the entire email for inclusion into the minutes. Nicole's first point was regarding the fact that her road does not have any drainage and that all the water from rain runoff flows down the street and then into her yard and floods the yard and the front step up to the front door, which then causes the land to be soft and can shift concrete that's been laid. She ties this into the fact that she's actually more concerned with this type of problem and the city fixing the road so that it is not flooded. She notes having lived here for 20 years and the road has never been fixed. And there are bumps in the road, which also encourage the rain to drain toward yards. But principally, she sees that problems like flooding being more important as to then worrying about what driveways are constructed of. And this ties into the driveway issue. That especially when there are so many other factors, she says, that can be addressed to improve the looks of this city, starting with the people who have junk all over their property. She believes that the city has bigger issues than the type of driveways that residents have. She cites and provides several photos of her mother's village in Pinehurst, North Carolina, where there are $1 million+ homes that have mixed driveways, some concrete, some gravel, some brick, but they all look nice. They're all well kept up. So she believes that we should make it mandatory that homes are kept up without looking like junkyards as being one of the first issues, rather than worrying about solely driveways. Those were the 2 communications I received.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else? Hearing none, we will move on to Administrative Department Head Reports, Mayor and Safety Director, Mr. Eva. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Johnson, members of council, the public here this evening. I'm going to turn it over to State Rep Dan Troy for an update.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council. Reason I'm here is because the very important issue on the ballot on May the 6th, there is an election day on May the 6th, Tuesday, May the 6th, 2 weeks from tonight. And what is on there? State issue 2. State issue 2 is necessary for the voters to approve 10 more years of constitutional authorization of the state Ohio Public Works Commission program. And I have sheets here, 2 of them here. Should have got more, but basically, this program has been very beneficial to the citizens and to the city of Mentor-on-the-Lake over the history of its program, of its existence. I asked the Ohio Public Works Commission to give me a printout of all the projects that have been funded on this, under this program, which started in the late 80s in my district. And the city of Mentor-on-the-Lake has received approximately $3.7 million in grants under the state capital improvements program, $965,000 in zero interest loans for some of those projects. And under the LTIP program, $67,000. This is way back with the Twilight Drive slope stabilization. Very important, because the authorization for this constitutional, program, expires on July 1st of this year. And last fall, myself and State Representative Scott Oschlager, Republican representative from Stark County, we co-sponsored the joint resolution to get this on the ballot. We knew the time was running out. And a little bit upset that we didn't deal with this maybe last year. Now we have to go with a special election day where the turnout's gonna be pretty low. So we gotta make sure that people understand that this is a state-directed bond issue. The entire debt service on the state issue is covered by existing resources of the state of Ohio. This is not a tax increase, it will not result in any property sales or income tax increases for the citizens of the state of Ohio. Our constitutional debt limit is 5% under the Ohio Constitution. We are just a little bit over 2% right now. So, and as more bonds retire, so their debt service is fine to cover this. And again, that's a good point. It's not a tax increase. The other good point is that all of the projects that are funded under this program since its beginning are made, the decisions are made at the local level. Nobody in Columbus says, this is what projects we're gonna fund. It starts at your county engineer's office, with the district or the county integrating committee, which I know for years, Mentor on the Lake had a representative there, and Mr. Molinar, and I used to say that's why Mentor on the Lake had a project every year. But they then score these projects, and then they go to what's called the district integrating committee, which is Lake, Geauga, Ashtabula, and Portage County, and then they are scored there. Again, it is has benefited every community in Lake County, I think except for one. I found out that North Perry Villages never got any funding out of this, so that they probably don't need it with the revenue stream they have there for the power plant. But it's again, it's been worth almost $5 million to the city of Mentor on the Lake. So I'm just urging the folks throughout my district, urging and going to all of the city council to see whatever you can do to remind residents, this is an important program. It is at no additional cost to you, but if it expires on July the 1st, it's going to require a lot of our local governments to come up with more of the cost of infrastructure projects that you need. And this covers everything from roads to bridges to water line replacements to wastewater lines to wastewater treatment facilities to solid waste facilities. So it is truly a public infrastructure program in which it's been a great partnership. In my opinion, it's been one of the best ideas the state of Ohio has ever had. It's been around now for about 38 years, and certainly we'd like to see it continue. So I just want to urge the leaders here in the city of Mentor on the Lake, and anytime you talk to your residents, even if they were not inclined to go vote on Tuesday, May the 6th, really, we could use some yes votes to make sure that we continue this authorization for this particular program. Be happy to answer any questions. Yeah, what?
Mr. Troy, what is required for passage? Is this a simple majority of votes cast?
It's a simple majority. It's a constitutional, it's better. It was approved in the late 80s. It was renewed in the 90s. It was renewed in the zeros. Actually, I was county commissioner in 2014. I chaired the Lake County Committee to renew it for that particular 10-year period. The other thing is the existing program was $2 billion or about $200 million a year over each of the 10 years. Because we know inflation has hit hard on infrastructure costs, this particular program, and we ran this through the finance people, they're comfortable with this, will be for $2.5 billion over the next 10 years, or $250 million a year to go throughout the state. But again, it doesn't obviously cover 100% of the cost of the projects, but just an example, one of the last projects you folks did here, Southland Road drainage system improvements, the entire cost of the project was $877,000, but you received a grant for $350,000 under this particular program, and also a zero interest loan. of $150,000. So you got $500,000, of which $150,000 you have to pay back with no interest toward the cost of this program. So obviously, it would have been more difficult for the city of Mamaroneck to come up with the entire cost for this project. So again, appreciate your support.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I didn't bring any checks tonight.
Feel free to go find one though.
You're away from the capital things.
Let's start now.
I also received correspondence from Nicole Jarrett at 5527 Hyde Drive. I won't repeat what Ms. Vaughn already went through. And also from Suzanne Case at 7839 Lakeshore. Basically the same topic, same theme, where they both feel that, you know, the gravel drains better than the concrete or asphalt. And then they also had a concern about the price of the asphalt and concrete. So again, the theme is, you know, the price of replacing, you know, going from one to the other. Also, as we know, we had a power outage last Friday. Again, I will stress, please call First Energy at 1-888-LIGHTS, LIGHTSS. 1-888-544-4877. Report your loss of power. So this gives First Energy an accurate count of the number of customers without the power in the city. Posting things on social media or calling our dispatchers does not help with the power. I did get an email, several emails that Chief Pachasko passed along. The fire department was at Andrews Place last Friday to help our residents. When the power goes out, people are on oxygen. There is no elevators over there. The stairways have some lighting, but it gets dangerous over there. So I appreciate the fire department going on. That concludes my report tonight.
All right, thank you, Administrative Director, Ms. Martin. Good evening.
Sure everyone noticed the construction on South Main this morning. But the crews are out there now are from Enbridge, the gas utility. They are not hired, they are not city hired contractors. The city contractors will not be able to begin their work until both the electric and gas companies are finished working.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to speak up a little bit. It's hard to hear you over the, thank you.
The second portion of the audit started this Monday, and the auditors will be on site until Thursday. So far, it's going well. And then on the agenda is the resolution 2025 R16. Response to ODOT is due May 2nd, 2025. I'm proposing we purchase 500 tons of salt. Last season, we used around 650 tons of salt, and we have close to 175 tons left over. That's it.
Okay, thank you. City Engineer, Mr. Parker, good evening.
Good evening. Just real quick, a couple of things is, Jacqueline just brought up the, Southland. So we are working with Enbridge. They are starting. That should be over in a week or two. First Energy still, they're gonna actually design bracing system to put up at the poles. They're not driving a truck out. So that's been designed. We're waiting for it to be checked and that's figure out when they can actually install it. So that's why Severino has not started on the project there. They can start as soon as we get that in place. So we're working diligently with them, trying to get the commitment and what they're gonna bring that out. But everything moves forward. I don't think there's gonna be an issue. I know there are some questions on flagging that's out there. I think the flagging is, that's utilities, that's how they can work these utilities. So will be outside the right of way. The right of way on Southland Road is not in the middle of the pavement. It's not uncommon in an older city that the right of way was dedicated in the 1900s. And then the road moved, they straightened out the curve at the west end of Southland. So that got lengthened and that moved from some of the right of way shifted over the years for whatever reason. Not uncommon for it not to be centered for pavement. So, and it's all spelled out in the things. The other thing is, we had a nice meeting with Parks and Rec down over the beach park. On the revetment, I think some of the comments were very, ballot. And then we went back and looked at some things. We're looking at making some changes to the plans to accommodate some of the comments and parcel back, and we'll take that back to that. Change.
Thank you. Questions? Chief Pachasko, you don't have a report, right? You're just here for the fire truck. Okay. All right. Anybody have questions for the administration?
A few. I noticed Linden Street is closed again. Are they doing the asphalt now? Because it's been closed for 2 days.
They told me that they were gonna start this week. I didn't know what day exactly this week, but they were gonna start on the asphalt.
Yeah, they closed it sometime one day. And I haven't seen any construction, so I was just wondering what the follow-up was there. The salt. I know last year we were made aware that there was a salt shortage. Have they fixed that salt shortage issue that they had?
You mean like the Morton salt people?
Yeah.
As far as, they haven't said anything that there was still a shortage. I just think it was more like they allocate so much per year and because everybody ran out, everyone was buying it all at the same time. So they were like rationing
Gotcha.
what everyone could buy.
And one last question. Last council meeting, we were told about the Cranes Landing cutting ribbon ceremony that was gonna be on the 16th. And I don't think anyone on council received an email what time that was going to be.
I got an email a couple days ago. It's now been postponed until the end of the month. So if I would have heard, I would have passed it along, but that's, kind of keeps pushing that back.
Okay.
So now it's unofficially April 30th. Don't know the time, but that's the latest that I have.
Okay, other questions?
I just wondered, so since our January 22nd meeting with about the feral cat issues, I was just wondering if you had updates in terms of what our colony numbers are like, what in our program activity there's been, what else, any other updates do we think the problem is same, better, worse?
I mean, I can check the website and get back to you at the next council meeting. You mean the program where you log into it? And they give you the numbers?
Just in general, how our particular feral cat problem is doing.
Nobody has made any complaints as of yet. Nobody has, like, there's no complaints, nobody's contacted the office. We posted a couple extra things, I believe, on Facebook and our website whenever things came around. We sent out letters to all of Goldenrod and I believe the street in front of it and behind it.
Large.
Yeah, so I would hope, since nobody has contacted us from those letters or anything, I would hope that they're all on board and it's going well, but time will tell.
I mean, our ordinance does have provisions in it that we are to be receiving reports or, I mean, this is something that we're actually.
Reports are available online and they can be looked up at any time, so if you want to report before a meeting, I can always print them.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Other questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to board committee commission reports. Parks and Recreation.
Parks and Recs, Committee, April 10th, 6:30. It actually started off, as Mr. Parker said, he presented some plans for phase 1 of the drawings of, including shoreline stabilization. And he took a lot of comments and we said, and it's gonna get back to the rules. There is also a in-person chronic disease self-management workshop that is scheduled for 6 Wednesdays. It's a 6-week program. Wednesdays, starting June 25th. And it's running till July 30th at 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. in this room. It is free. The number to call would be City Hall to sign up for that. The trunk or treat will remain at Lake Elementary. They received positive feedback from that. They want to keep it at Lake Elementary. Lastly, we are having a movie night, May 9th, which is a Friday. It's at the library. Unfortunately, by the time I got this message out, there is already a waiting list. We do encourage people to continue signing up, but so
I think they were saying the way we're having it set up, that it could be 40 to 60 people, so it's already filled up, but please sign up if you're in. Maybe adjourned at 7:59.
Good, thank you. Ordinance Committee.
Ordinance Committee. Ordinance Committee met on April 14th at 7 PM. We discussed ordinance section 474. We found many sections throughout this ordinance that were redundant. And we were going through and omitting those sections. For example, one section 474.01, remove. When a citation is issued to a cyclist, the fact that the violation involves a bicycle shall be clearly indicated on the citation. So it's just little things like that that we were going through and removing the redundancy and removing the parts that were not applicable to that section. We also are incorporating e-bikes into the section as well. The following, we did have a few suggestions so far for the e-bikes, that following all laws when riding a bike in the street as same as a car. We are suggesting age restrictions on e-bikes, speeds of up to 10 miles per hour on the sidewalk, helmets for children or anyone under the age of 18. We are still reviewing more e-bike ordinance related issues. And we adjourned at 8:30 PM.
Okay, thank you. Envision Steering Committee.
Envision Steering Committee met on April 17th at 7 PM. At our public hearing meeting that we had about 36 people in attendance. Did not copy all of my meeting minutes over. We discussed, the committee itself had a homework that we were given to identify what we thought were the most important things that came from all of our meetings that we had. And I will, as soon as I get an updated copy, they want all council to take that as well, to see what we as council would align as 1 through 5 as being most important versus what the community rates 1 through 5. Or I'm sorry, versus what the committee rates 1 through 5. And that's our homework for our next meeting. And as soon as I get the updated corrected version, I will be sending that out to everyone to complete, and we can do that at a next council meeting. Our next committee meeting is May 22nd at 7 PM. And our last public community meeting is June 5th at 7 PM. We adjourned at 8:30 PM.
Okay, thank you. Were there any other board committees or commissions that met that aren't on the list? Hearing none, we will move on to open to the public to speak. If you'd like to speak, please come to the lectern, state your name and address for the record. This is your opportunity to speak to council. It is not a back and forth with council. Mr. Morris, I see you're ready to jump up there and run to the podium.
Good evening. My name is Paul Morris, 7592 Pinehurst Drive, Venture on the Lake. Some time ago, I sent everybody on council an email concerning the replacement of the ladder truck that the fire chief thinks has to be replaced. I'm not doubting his thoughts on it. I'm asking you all to reconsider that. In that email, I asked, maybe the city should send that truck out to a professional company to have it assessed to see what its actual condition is. I know council has spent over $120,000, I believe, in years past to have the frame fixed for the ladder. Now, we just spent about $95,000 for more repairs to that truck. During the safety committee meeting in which that truck was discussed, firefighter Dan Clem said that they have gone to eBay and other used sources to get parts for that truck, especially light bulbs. When I asked the fire chief for clarification on that, he said, no, they never have. So I think the safety committee was given this envisionment of this truck that is being held together with bubble gum, baling wire, and shoe screens, which I don't believe it is.
during that time, they also said how many hours were on that truck and how many miles were on that truck. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know about you, but in my personal life, I don't go by how old the vehicle is. I go by how dependable it is. And I don't see that we've had much to do with the drivetrain in that truck. No body repair that I've heard of, mechanical issues that break down. So I strongly recommend, please, before you spend that kind of money and put us further in debt, think about this. I don't know what it would cost to have done, but I do know in years past, we did send a truck out to a company called Page Lambert in Pittsburgh. They evaluated that engine, made their recommendations. I don't remember what all they did to it other than paint it. So, and Mr. Lunder, Councilman Lunder was on the department when we had that done. So think about this. This is a lot of money to spend. And I think the safety committee has been misled, either intentionally or accidentally. I don't know which. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak?
Hi, Amy Winters at 592 Springwood. As I was walking through McMinn, I noticed that we had some axes on some of the trees. Do we have any dates of when those are coming down? So we know when the fence will be discarded?
Would you like to answer that?
I have bought tree quotes. So I haven't, I just got the quotes right now, and have decided about what tree service I can get.
Oh,
And then I'll go, whoever we wanted to see the spray first.
yes,
So we forward to the trees down that way. We can take everything.
right.
So, so
Okay. Yeah, I seen the axes and I'm like, oh, not it.
I think that I had to have people come out and decide.
Yeah.
That's what I.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing none, we'll close this portion open to the public to speak. We'll move on to legislation before council. Ordinance number 2025-0-09. If you could please read it by its title.
Ordinance number 2025-0-09, third reading. Ordinance amending section 1280.05A residential of chapter 1280, conditions of parking areas of the codified ordinances of the city of Mentor on the Lake, Ohio.
Would the ordinance committee like to take this back to review with the additional information they received from residents?
Yes, this was actually in the zoning committee.
Okay, would the zoning committee like to take this back to review?
I think that's probably appropriate.
Okay. All right, it's being referred back to the zoning committee for review. All right, resolution number 2025-R-14, if you could please read it by its title.
Resolution number 2025-R-14, second reading. A resolution confirming the appointment of Natalie N. Schulte, Law Office of Retzel, as Law Director and Assistant City Prosecutor, affirming the contract, determining compensation, and declaring an emergency.
Okay, everyone should have received a revised proposed contract. I had a couple of questions on that contract. You see that we amended 1A as well as 1C. 1C now adding in the ordinance committee chair, but not any other committee chairs. It includes now a majority vote of council for drafting, reviewing, or approving ordinances, resolutions. Mayor, would you like to speak to the revised portion there?
I think when we talked about it, at least you, Mr. Johnson, wanted every committee chair to be able to do that.
Yes, which is how we currently operate. So if the zoning committee is doing legislation, they can submit it directly to the law director, get it back into the zoning committee.
without it ever coming through council as a whole.
All that I'm fine with the change.
Okay,
What else? Do you have a question?
I also have a question about F. That was materially changed from the previous draft without any question from council as to that line. So I'm wondering why that was changed.
Yeah, so I think my understanding is that these now reflect your council rules.
So F is responding to council inquiries concerning city affairs that are presented during council meetings. Previously, it said responding to council inquiries. So I'm trying to understand why it was changed to just no longer being responding to council inquiries, which could happen at any time, to now just being concerning city affairs that are presented during council meetings.
My understanding is that it's per your council rules. We were trying to facilitate that. Again, just not being wide open. If you guys want to change it again, that's fine. We talked and tried to just address your question. If you're not happy with that, we can make changes. What, is there, let me ask you a question. Is there a concern or is there a reason that topic, the topic of inquiry should be restricted? Is there, maybe there's a rationale I'm not understanding? I think that's just how we, kind of took your guys' feedback to put into the contracts. But again, if you don't want that, so make further changes. So again, facilitate, that efficiency and kind of getting the best bang for your buck on the enterprise contract. So.
My biggest concern whenever I read that responding to council inquiries concerning city affairs that are presented during council meetings, to me, that really sends a message that we're only limited to reach out about questions or concerns that we have during council meetings. We only meet every week, 2 times a month. And if we have a pressing issue, if I have to wait to a council meeting and then I present it to you, and then I have to wait for an answer, at the next council meeting, I'm a month into whatever this is on something that maybe should have been addressed and fixed 4 weeks ago. So having it read to where things can only be presented during council meetings ties our hands of addressing things as they come up and keeping business flowing in an orderly fashion.
That's fair.
Other comments, questions? Is that the general consensus of the council?
Yes. I would like to see this change. I think, my understanding was at the last meeting that we agreed we could maybe try the workflow the way we've been accustomed and see how it goes. If it's turning out to be too expensive or it's turning out to be chaotic because you have not as limited streams of, information, then we could consider changing it. But I guess I would like it, if we're gonna start off that way, I would like the contract to reflect that. It just makes it clear for you and clear for us. That's fair. Is this the only part we all have an issue with?
So the issues that I have are 1C and 1F.
So I will say, I think C is directly from your rules, council rules. So if you would like to change those, I made that change and we kind of discussed to reflect because you guys wanted that the prior meeting. So if you don't, that's fine. We were just trying to keep it consistent.
Just looking at the council rules.
Mhm.
All right, it says section 20, he or she shall not be required to draw any ordinance or resolution for council except upon a majority vote of the members of council, ordinance committee, or president of council.
Is that implied? B also states that when requested by the chair of a committee to which an ordinance or resolution has been referred may assist in the examination of such ordinance or resolution, but that does not also include the drafting of that resolution or ordinance. I'm asking.
Hold on, pulling up the council rules. I have them open in front of me. They don't tend to sit here with the council rules right in front of me.
I just opened them.
So my interpretation of that is it says he or she shall not be required to, but that doesn't mean that we can't ask for that to be done. So,
Right, and section 20, letter C, in addition to the requirement contained in section 6.04 of the city charter, the law director, when requested by the president of council, shall give a written legal opinion on any question concerning city affairs.
May I comment?
sure, go right ahead.
I do know that this particular clause, I mean, this is as it's stated in council rules. It's actually also a rule for some of the boards and commissions, like for planning and zoning and also for parks and rec. That if a written or if an opinion is needed, it can be requested by the chair of that board or commission. And I could understand maybe, I mean, that's what the rules are now. Rules can change. If that is too many streams of information, I mean, there is a council representative on each of those boards anyway that could go through, so long as, again, we're able to bring those to you by one of the terms of your documents.
In my inclination, like I said, as from the beginning, I have said that I believe that every committee chair should be able to draft legislation and have that reviewed by the law director. It's up to the rest of this body to decide whether that's what they would like to continue to do, as we have done in the past.
Does the any two members of council come from the fact that so items may be placed on the agenda either by the president, the vice president, or any two members of
Yes.
council? So that if two members of council had something that they wish to propose in terms of legislation, they would need to have that drafted first and then bring it to come on the agenda. Is that where that comes from?
Yes.
If you think about your committees, you have 3. So you could have a 2-to-1 split, but the 2 would overrule,
Correct.
right?
That's correct.
Well, technically you have 5 because you have 2 ex officio members committee. So,
I mean, I would think that to have this reflect the workflow as we've had it, would basically be having C read drafting, reviewing, or approving ordinances and resolutions upon request of the mayor, city administrator, council president, any council committee chair, or any 2 members of council. Does that cover it? Yes. And I would think that we all have concerns about F. I certainly do. I would be in favor of having that revert back to F, responding to council inquiries, period. How does that sound to everybody?
if there's
What else?
My biggest thing is, I think communication between a committee chairperson, when we are writing legislation, should be between that person and our law director. So that way that communication is direct, timely, and the questions can be addressed between the two people who, the person who knows what's going on and who's gonna have to present it back to the committee. Whereas adding more hands is, it's gonna delay it, it's gonna take more time for it to get itself up the chain. Then you guys pass it back down the chain, and it's just gonna add more time to the process. It just eliminates the opportunity for things to get misconstrued as it's going through multiple people who may or may not have been present for some of those conversations as well.
And the other concern I would have is only having three people, you know, council president, mayor and administration. So if I am ordinance chair committee, if I know Rob's on vacation, I know when the mayor goes on vacation, he sends a notification, but how do I know when Jacqueline goes on vacation? So what if all three are out on vacation? What am I doing with this legislation? I'm holding it now until someone's back from vacation. You know, which delays the process as well.
Okay, that's fine. You're gonna solve, do you want to amend it now? Or come back again in 2 weeks?
If you have a draft of it, you know, you can draft an amendment version of it for us to approve.
So, as Ms. Wong said, we would just change, instead of ordinance committee chair on 1C, it would say drafting, reviewing, or approving ordinances and resolutions upon request of the mayor, city admin, council president, any council committee chair, or any two members of council, period. Are we all good with that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And then F would just be responding to council inquiries, period. Okay. Are we good with the rest? I'm sure you guys have some questions you want to throw my way, so just trying to move this process as quickly as possible. But if you want to come back in 2 weeks, then it's fine too.
Is there a motion to amend the contract as presented?
Motion to amend.
Second.
Motion made by Mrs. Thompson, seconded by Mr. Bittner to amend the contract.
Thompson, second by Bittner.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Moore,
Aye.
Ms. Thompson.
Aye.
Mr. Gray.
Aye.
Mr. Bittner.
Aye.
Ms. Wong.
Aye.
Mr. Lunder.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye. So motion to suspend the rules.
Motion to suspend rules.
Motion made by Mrs. Thompson, second by Mr. Bittner. Roll call, please.
Ms. Moore,
Aye.
Ms. Thompson.
Aye.
Mr. Gray.
Aye.
Mr. Bittner.
Aye.
Ms. Wong.
Aye.
Mr. Lunder.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye.
Motion to pass.
Motion made by Mr. Bittner, second by Mrs. Thompson for approval. Roll call, please.
Ms. Moore,
Aye.
Ms. Thompson.
Aye.
Mr. Gray.
Aye.
Mr. Bittner.
Aye.
Ms. Wong.
Aye.
Mr. Lunder.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye. Okay, this has been approved.
Could I ask one question? Does this lead to a change in the council roles? Because it specifically states ordinance committee. Should it be all committees then?
What section? In the
Uh,
morning council rules?
20.
Sections.
Yeah.
But what section is what?
I guess that was the difference of interpretation. When the
Well,
law.
I guess my thing is why specify one committee? And
Right,
just
sure.
say
Committee.
all council committees.
Should be.
Right.
Should be.
Yep.
I think that can come up in new business. All right, moving on. We have resolution number 2025-R-15. If you could please read it by its title.
Resolution number 2025 R-15, a resolution declaring the month of April 2025 Child Abuse Prevention Month in Mentor-on-the-Lake, Ohio.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Bittner, second by Mrs. Thompson. Roll call, please.
Ms. Moore,
Aye.
Ms. Thompson.
Aye.
Mr. Gray.
Aye.
Mr. Bittner.
Aye.
Ms. Wong.
Aye.
Mr. Lunder.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye.
Motion for passage.
Second.
Motion made by Mrs. Thompson, second by Ms. Wong. Roll call, please.
Ms. Moore,
Aye.
Ms. Thompson.
Aye.
Mr. Gray.
Aye.
Mr. Bittner.
Aye.
Ms. Wong.
Aye.
Mr. Lunder.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye. Resolution number 2025-R-16, if you please read it by its title.
Resolution number 2025-R-16, a resolution authorizing the administrative director to participate in an agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation for the purchase of sodium chloride rock salt for the 2025-2026 winter season and declaring an emergency.
Considering the,
Question? Yes.
Is there a timeline on when this has to be passed? May 2nd. Thank you.
based on this needing to be passed by May 2nd. And we want to get in this program so that we can have the cheapest rate possible. I'm gonna make a motion to suspend.
Second.
Motion made by Mrs. Moore, second by Mrs. Thompson for suspension of the rules. Roll call, please.
Ms. Moore,
Aye.
Ms. Thompson.
Aye.
Mr. Gray.
Aye.
Mr. Bittner.
Aye.
Ms. Wong.
Aye.
Mr. Lunder.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye.
Motion for passage.
Second.
Motion made by Mrs. Thompson, second by Mr. Bittner. Roll call, please.
Ms. Moore,
Aye.
Ms. Thompson.
Aye.
Mr. Gray.
Aye.
Mr. Bittner.
Aye.
Ms. Wong.
Aye.
Mr. Lunder.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye. All right, is there any old business tonight? We'll move on to new business. First up, we have the fire truck expenditure. I believe everybody now has several quotes. As Mr. Lunder had requested. So we have one from Pierce, Sutphen, Spartan, and then we have a Fuchs, Phelps. And the one you wish to purchase is what?
Phelps
The Phelps. Okay, so looking at those contract, the estimates or whatever, the Pierce was just over almost $1.1 million. The Sutphen was about $920,000. The Spartan was $813,422 when you added in the additional modifications, and then the Phelps was $831,872.75. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe that's correct.
So the Spartan is actually the cheaper of the four. So why the Phelps over the Spartan?
So actually, the Phelps is cheaper than the Spartan. The base price off of the state contracts, the Phelps Brothers is $683. The Spartan is $775. The Sutphen is $888, and the Pierce is just over $1 million. The additional cost of the modifications needed to the vehicles and the equipment, puts the Phelps Brothers vehicle a total of $831,872, and the Spartan at $914,000. And then, of course, the Sutphen and the Pierce are even higher than that, so.
So wait, the Spartan was how much did you say for the total?
So the Spartan, the Phelps Brothers, after cost of equipment and modifications, comes in at $831,872. And the Spartan, after equipment and modifications, comes in at $914,721.
And how do you get that number? Because I add up $775 and $38,422.34.
The price of the customization is not included in the Spartan, because we were trying to compare apples to apples, and we were just mainly doing, the equipment and not the customization. We didn't have enough time for them to give me, all the customization that we would need, like we did with the Phelps Brothers. Because the Fox Brothers was the original vehicle.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the challenge of us proving something when we're trying to make sure we're getting the most bang for the buck.
Right.
And
May I ask a question about
absolutely,
the bid process? So I understand from the memo that was issued that cooperative purchasing was used to obtain some, I know possibly all, of the bids. My question is whether, and I know that these bids will satisfy the state requirements and of course the federal requirements, the use for the use of federal funds, which I'm not sure we're using any. But my question is whether the use of the cooperative purchasing sites satisfies our local ordinance with regard to competitive bidding, which is specifically 227.01D for purchases over $50,000. Even though we don't have specific provision for entering into intergovernmental agreements or have any kind of piggybacking language there. I know municipalities that have basically substituted the use of cooperative purchasing agreements for their competitive bidding process, include some of that language, whereas we have not. And I don't know whether, does this adequately substitute for it? Just want to make sure we're doing everything that.
Yes, it's authorized under the state of Ohio.
Right, but is it authorized here, is what I'm asking, or is our local law also satisfied?
I believe it's. Yeah.
What was that? I'm sorry.
2505, I think.
Huge one.
227 under fiscal officer.
Certainly, you as the administrator are authorized under the ordinance you just mentioned to pay the vendor for contracts entered into from the state. But my question is whether the actual gathering of the bids satisfies our competitive bidding requirement as in 227. That's my question.
Five.
So 227.01, authority regarding purchases and contracts limitations specifically states that no purchases or contracts involving the expenditure of more than $50,000 shall be made except with the lowest and best bidder as determined by council after advertising for bids for 2 consecutive weeks in a newspaper of general circulation within the municipality. Contracts for professional services are excluded from this provision.
Cooperative purchase one, I believe, 2505. I don't have, I remember 225 or 225. There's a 205 and 08. There's one to go into ODOT, and then there's one for cooperative purchasing. I quoted it in the last meeting, but I did not read it.
So is that 222.05? That is about the administrator being bound to the contract in terms of Ohio Department of Administrative Services, Office of State Purchasing, and that you're authorized to pay the vendor directly under each such state contract. You don't think that's the one? I think you referenced that one in your memo on the dump truck.
I don't have it.
So yes, 222.05 is cooperative purchasing. So the question is really about the two different roles that you have to, the two hats that you have to wear. One is as the administrative director and one is the fiscal officer. The fiscal officer is the one spending the money while the administrative director is the one entering the contracts.
Okay.
So the spending the money part falls under 227, which states that you have to have the bidding process. So we're trying to understand, are we following the laws as they're written?
So by using the consortium, they have established through the request for proposal process, which meets all the purchasing thresholds required. This process includes advertising through local and national print media as well as online platforms to solicit bids. By leveraging existing contract, entities can bypass the need for their own solicitation or collecting multiple quotes, streamlining procurement. So that's the reason for using.
I totally understand that. I've been all over this MPP Gov site, and so to try to find out about it. And everywhere, I understand it satisfies federal and state, but they also warn all over the site, please seek your legal counsel and be sure that it satisfies your local ordinances, because they don't craft those contracts to fit local ordinances. They go as far as the state level. So if there's anything county or anything local that doesn't allow you to use it, I just want to make sure that we're following what our own ordinance says in the process, because this is definitely a purchase over $50,000. And if this is the way we want to move going forward, where we're always going to be using this type of a process, and maybe this is something we should look at using, adding piggyback language or whatever into our own purchasing ordinance so that we have the ability to just do that and not require something else that might not be covered. So I don't know the answer. That's the question.
Yes, my thought is several of these ordinances really are obsolete. We've used it through the police department many times for patrol cars, equipment. And now all of a sudden, like the idea of advertising a paper for this,
Agree.
that's gone.
Agree, but then I think our ordinance should be.
Well, I
Probably need to update. And if that's the case, that's fine. It's just that I still think that we can't, continuing to do things outside the ordinances, technically illegal, even if it's completely outdated. We've also been physically hand posting meeting agendas and announcements in 5 locations in the city. That's just changed now. So, yeah, a lot of these things could update, but that just because it's obsolete or outdated isn't a reason to say we should just adopt another means, unless it's covered by this ordinance. So that's really important.
Well, my have is that you just said the police cars, the city garage, those are all $100,000. We're looking at almost $1 million here.
Right.
This is the issue that I have.
So I guess this is a question for the law director.
Congratulations.
I don't know, I guess it depends on your answers.
I'll get back to you.
Further discussion on the fire truck.
I got a question. I've heard from 2 people now that the truck is ordered and it's due in September. Is that true?
The truck is coming from the manufacturer and it's scheduled for May.
So is it ordered
It's been ordered, yes.
without our approval?
I was under the assumption that when the budget passed, that the funding was included in the budget.
The funding's there.
Yeah.
But we still have to approve it. Now that we got 3 different bids, we can change it.
I understand that. I have to apologize. This is the first time that I'm purchasing a vehicle as the fire chief. So I was a little confused, at the process. Obviously, the council has to approve the expenditure. But, yeah, so we had ordered, the truck. We just haven't done the financing part for it. Yeah.
So are we under obligation for a particular vehicle at this point?
Not to my knowledge. We signed for them to order the truck.
It sounds like another question for the law director.
Sounds like there's
You're
a
gonna be
commitment
busy.
there.
The administration will keep you
From
busy.
what I know, if we sign a piece of paper that says, make this for us, that's a commitment. And not we can change our mind unless there's some kind of penalty.
Uh-huh. Okay, well, anybody else have any exciting questions for this? This is going downhill quickly.
So I will say, we did approve for getting a new truck. We agreed upon that, right? And I feel it's our job is now for him to figure out which one. He gives us the quotes, we look at them. And it's not our job to pick which truck we believe is the best. We don't know. Well, some of us may have better ideas, but that's not our job. I feel it's now into his hands up to present us the facts of the bids that we've asked for, which he did.
Along as the bidding process that was undergone,
Correct.
that's, yes, I agree.
And then I'm fine. You can sit here and micromanage and tell him you have to get this truck over. That's not my job. I trust him. Trust the process. Now, if he's gonna pick a truck that's over $100,000 more, something like that, I think we're gonna have questions. Just my opinion.
I'll tell you that right now, I don't trust him because he's signed a contract for something that we hadn't approved yet. So that definitely puts a dent in my trustworthiness level there. So,
I can see where, when we passed the budget stating we wanted the new truck, things started. You're right. Should have signed on that
Appropriated
truck
money.
because we didn't know at that time the bids. We appropriated the money for it.
And I think that's why maybe we should be paying a lot of attention to what our laws state and what the process actually is, because that kind of confusion leads to.
Be clear.
anybody else? Why, this is just gonna sit there. We wait for a review by the law director on the contract and everything too. All right, insurance expenditure approval. Would the administrative director like to speak on the expenditure for the insurance?
And I'm gonna ask that you use that microphone because we cannot hear you up there. Thank you.
Travelers insurance, as I said, on the bottom, it increased 8.6 from last year. The biggest contribution to that was because of the 3 new safety vehicles that we added to the fleet. Also, there was like an offset between like the law enforcement and the inland marine. That kind of changed some of the numbers a little bit, or with the general area, sorry. But other than that, there was really minimal change once you take out the view.
Okay, did we get any other quotes just to compare to, just to make sure we're still getting a good rate?
We can go through and get the municipal insurance is very far and few between. So, and this is the same insurance company that's been forever. We have a lot of grandfathered in rules with them as well. So we also have to look at it if we do switch, we're not gonna be grandfathered in anymore, and then the rates can even go even higher. And plus there, like I said, I did look in to see how many are around, and there's not a lot of insurance companies that handle municipalities.
Can you give me an example of something that we're grandfathered in under?
Like the jail, the law enforcement. The jail is not up to code,
Okay,
so something of that sort.
okay. So because our jail's not up to code, it would increase our liability?
Correct.
Okay. Just making sure I'm understanding what you're saying.
Or they'll make it bring it up to code.
Or,
Yeah, exactly.
Which,
yes, okay.
Other questions?
When is this due?
I I can't remember, but it's like, I think we have, you can have one more reading if we want. from what I remember. I think it's like in May.
Is there a motion to approve the expenditure?
Motion to approve the expenditure.
Second. Motion made by Mrs. Thompson, second by Mr. Gray. Roll call on the motion, please.
Ms. Moore,
Aye.
Ms. Thompson,
Aye.
Mr. Gray.
Aye.
Mr. Bittner,
Aye.
Ms. Wong.
Aye.
Mr. Lunder.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye. All right. Now we have the service department dump truck expenditure.
This is a Sourcewell contract that we, use the same cooperative purchasing site. Service department, they always get a F-550. I asked if they can have any other truck besides the F-550, and that's what they need. And then the, dump body, hoist and spreader has to go on a different, from a different company. And, we're getting the stainless steel because the one we currently have, one of the largest reasons why we can't use it anymore is because it wasn't stainless steel and now there's holes and rust in it. So if we get this one with stainless steel, it should last much longer. This particular truck is like our third salt spreader slash plower, and if it's one of the two big trucks, the CDL trucks break down, like this definitely would be our backup, and this is also what we use like with the cul-de-sacs for the smaller places as well. So.
Questions on this? Thompson.
How old is truck 13?
I think it's 10 years old.
How old is the plow and the mechanisms on that truck?
I don't really know, but I'm assuming it's the same year as the truck, because they have to buy the truck and then get the package together.
Right.
So,
How is the plow looking on 13? I mean, is it gonna be used for a little bit more, or is it like done?
some of our plows are interchangeable, but we have one or two that are not. Because this is a bigger truck, I'm going to assume we're probably gonna have to, if we turn around and like resell it,
So
it's gonna
13,
have to go as a package.
so truck 13 is not a 550.
No, it isn't 550.
Other questions?
I just have the same question for this one about using the cooperative purchasing, but that question will be answered.
Okay, then this is going to stay on there for another meeting until we have a response from the law director on that. This one got omitted from the agenda, but you all should also receive this one, which is the metal roof expenditure approval for the service department. Do you want to speak on that?
We had several roofing companies come at the same time. They were doing the siding, the annex, all the things that we discussed. So this particular one, was not the best purchase for the annex, but it was the best, rate that we received, for the metal roof for the service department. And it also, apparently, we have some extra things that they need to do, like move skylights that are in there, which I thought was interesting, because could put a skylight in the garage, but I don't know. And then, they're gonna need to replace the flashing gutters and downspouts. Wow.
Okay, questions on this?
Now, is this on the service department building or the salt shed?
No salt shed, just the,
Okay,
service.
so I know last time we were talking about.
Yeah, no,
the salt shed.
just the service building itself, garage.
What's the warranty on the metal roof versus shingles, or can shingles even be put on that roof? Cause I don't know, is it flat? It's already metal roof. Oh, it's already metal, okay.
Other questions?
Does it have a warranty?
I believe it has a 10-year warranty, and I learned something new, that what goes on a metal roof a lot is like the little, nuts and bolts. So you have to, like, they'll rust out before the roof goes bad.
So are these exposed fasteners?
So we made sure and got the,
Damn thing.
right.
No exposed fasteners.
The fasteners the fasteners themselves have a warranty on it. So,
So I have to say, I just put a standing seam metal roof on my house in November, so I've done a lot of research about standing seam, hidden fasteners, concealed fasteners is what they're referred to, as opposed to exposed fasteners. There may be warranties. Warranties are not guarantees. So warranties simply state how long they expect a product to last without a manufacturer defect resulting in failure. And so those exposed fasteners, the way that they prevent water from getting in under the roof is there's a rubber or silicone gasket. The fastener will last. It's the rubber or silicone gasket that won't. So that may end up being the mechanism of failure, in a roof with exposed fasteners, no matter what they say the warranty is. So just, that's sort of to keep in mind.
Okay.
They are definitely cheaper, though. Exposed fasteners are absolutely cheaper than concealed. Price is an issue.
Okay, any motions on this one?
Motion for passage. Second.
Motion made by Mrs. Thompson, second by Mrs. Moore. Roll call, please.
Ms. Moore. Aye. Ms. Thompson.
Aye.
Mr. Gray.
Aye.
Mr. Bittner,
Aye.
Ms. Wong.
Aye.
Mr. Lunder.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye. Okay, other new business. Amending council rules under the law director. Anyone want to make a proposal on that tonight?
That would just change to all the, committee, right?
Yes.
I'll make the, motion to change that to make sure that all committees are involved with that.
So you have to have the actual verbiage.
Should the language match what the contract? Yeah. Then you would amend it to say the law director, this is section 20A on the law director. The law director, sorry, he or she shall not be required to draw any ordinance or resolution for council except upon. You want to keep the majority vote of council? That's okay. So upon a majority vote of the members of council, or upon request by the president of council, the chair of any council committee, or any two members of council. So that it would align with what's currently on track under the law director.
So majority council then should be removed, not on there.
Yeah,
Because two members of council would count.
Yeah.
yes,
Remove.
yes. You want to read back what you just wrote?
Should like it. All right. All right, so it would read. So I would move to amend section 20 law director under 2025 council rules. To read, he or she shall not be required to draw any ordinance or resolution for council. Except by request of the council president, any council committee chair, or any two members of council.
Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Second.
Was the mayor not?
You first. You did.
Included?
Well, but for council.
Yeah.
Kind of mirror.
So, yeah.
You're right.
All right, motion made by Ms. Wong, second by Mrs. Thompson to amend council rules. Roll call, please.
Ms. Moore. Aye. Ms. Thompson.
Aye.
Mr. Gray.
Aye.
Mr. Bittner,
Aye.
Ms. Wong. Aye. Mr. Lunder.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye. Okay, is there anything else under new business tonight? Hearing none, we'll move on to open the public to speak. If you'd like to speak, please come to the lectern, state your name and address for the record.
Camp Waukee, 7589 Salida Road. In regards to the fire truck issue, I just would like to make note, comments, I have some experience in this area, that you put the fire chief in a position of running the department. One of his responsibility is to make requests for capital equipment and to justify the cost. And that's important. And I know not always the lowest bid, you get to use, but I know one thing, once properly authorized, I figured the selection of the vehicle should go to the fire chief. That's why you put him in. He's done all the research, he's listened to all the arguments, and he's gonna have to live with that piece of equipment for quite some time. So, once properly authorized, I would listen to the fire chief. Thank you.
Anyone else? Hearing none, we'll close this portion open to the public to speak. Announcements and settings of meetings. Next regular meeting of council will be Tuesday, May 13th, 2025 at 7 PM. Who's got a meeting they want to schedule?
I'm sure Barnes is gonna need one.
The zoning does.
Well, but I will need to allow our letter some time
I was
to
thinking,
have questions answered before we meet to discuss them. So, yeah.
I was thinking ordinance, so we can review section 227.
Correct. 227. Again, is
The contract there.
Contracts.
is a.
We need a response to that contracts. I'm sorry.
We need an answer, we need a response for that. Okay, so we can continue with e-bikes and scooters. Yeah, no question there. It needs, yes, it does. Makes this more. I actually would like to ask the members of the zoning committee if it would be possible for us to schedule at this point a zoning committee meeting at the end of May. Wednesday, the 28th. Mr. Gray? What time?
6:30.
Okay. Just put that on the books now.
That's a good motivation.
So 16th for May.
Six.
6th.
6th is election day and I have
Yeah.
polls the entire day. So I'm sorry, I cannot make that.
Then we do the
Can
12th.
we meet the 1st? Unavailable for a large part of the middle of May.
I can do the 1st. 7 PM, Mr. Bittner. Okay.
What's that?
I can.
You cannot. And Wednesday, the 30th is out for you.
Sorry.
Tuesday, the 29th?
Yes. 7 p.m.
7 PM.
Tuesday, April 29th at 7 PM?
So Tuesday, April 29th at 7 PM is the ordinance committee.
Further
Okay,
discussion of e-bikes.
e-bikes. Sadly missed that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm not.
You can call in.
Different time zone.
Okay. Ordinance was 7. Yes, can't be. just-
Any other meetings?
Zoning.
Motion adjourned.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Bittner, second by Ms. Thompson for adjournment. Roll call, please.
Ms. Moore. Aye. Ms. Thompson.
Aye.
Mr. Gray.
Aye.
Mr. Bittner.
Aye.
Ms. Wong.
Aye.
Mr. Lunder.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye. We are adjourned.
Say again.
Okay.
What?
I've read some of them and it's. Just do that based on the tape, that how. I mean, it's not. He's gonna want me to do that.